2246 South 24th Avenue. There's three things I do want to address to you that are concerned. And regarding, I know it's been a record snowfall, and we're expecting rain Thursday, and everybody's got it piled high. I'm wondering, do we have a plan to minimize flooding? Where I live, right where Roosevelt Road, everybody's water is coming down there in those sewers, and I'm concerned that we're going to have a major problem. So I'm wondering, and I'm not sure who does it, are the locks going to be open or the gates so that whenever the water is coming, are they going to let the water through? Are we getting the waters from the parkway? What can we do as residents as well? So I would like you to address that, okay? And then secondly, I want you to know, I did read the strategic plan of the police department and the fire department, and quite impressed with the ideas that they had, and very, very pleased with what they're doing. I think we're on the right road, doing the right things for this village. But I do disagree on what's going on here with the library variances. I think we're all residents here. We benefit from improvements and renovations. The people of the village have spoken that we want this to go through, and I'm asking you, Mayor Jones, I don't care who is right or who is wrong, let's do what's right for the people. Let's reconsider and get this to the Board of Trustees so that we can move forward. It's good for our village. I'm committed to helping where I can help, and I want that from everybody up here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Marquita Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm just going to make a slight announcement. The announcement was made by the village regarding the United States Postal Service. I work for Congressman Davis. We oversee the post office. We are not the post office. So I just want to reiterate, if you have a complaint, please dial the 1-800 number. Get your case number before you call the Congressman's office, because when we submit those complaints, the first thing they're going to ask us, did you submit your complaint with the post office? They're tracking. They realize they made a mistake, that they weren't tracking complaints. So if you can tell your neighbors, your friends, that if they have issues with them not having their mail delivery, please contact the 1-800 number. There's a sheet in the back. I don't know if you put sheets out for the meeting tonight, but if you can follow this process, we will probably, more than likely, we will see better improvement in our postal delivery. This is just something that has occurred after they did the merge, and a lot of the new districts wasn't aware of issues that was in the surrounding communities here in the various villages in the western suburbs. And then I also want to ask, I noticed as we were going around, and I know all of us is coming out of this big snow, but the sewer areas, and I know when those guys are plowing, they have no other option but to plow. But because this temperature is going to start dropping, what plan is going to be put in place to uncover those sewer holes so that water can flow? Because if it does, I'm told too, if there's like heaters underground, I was told, and that if those holes are uncovered, that water can flow a little bit more easier. But just out of curiosity, because we've had our experience with the flooding in our village.
Absolutely. Mr. Wayne Arnold.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wayne Arnold, 2533 South 18th Avenue, Broadview, and I'm also president of the Broadview zoning board. I'm calling I came today to make a few comments and try to keep it within 3 minutes regarding an issue regarding whether or not the zoning board should have had our finding of fact statement sent to me by now. I know for a fact that we had a meeting back in December regarding various Broadview board with understanding to the citizens. The Broadview zoning board doesn't meet by our decision. We are requested by village attorneys, to have the meeting, along with Mr. Upshaw, who is the zoning board administrator. We don't call meetings, okay? So we're requested by the village, but when we submit our stipends for our meetings, they give it to the village and to the mayor's office. And up until now, since I've been here, those things have been paid in a timely fashion. When I called the mayor and asked him about this situation, I was informed that he didn't think that the village should pay the zoning board members for attending those meetings. Whatever gripes are going on between the village and the library in terms of disagreements with timely filing papers, etc., we have no qualm in that, and it should not be an issue. Now we are requested to have other meetings, and I'm gonna tell you right now, members on that board are asking me for an explanation in terms of why that stipend was not paid, and why should they be taking their time. And I'm a professional person. If this meeting was not today, I would not be here, because I'm a college professor and I teach a 12-hour day on Mondays and Wednesdays. So this is probably the last time you guys can see me here, because when you have these meetings on Mondays, I'm not available to attend, okay? But this situation with this library has gotten really ugly, has become a really bad situation, because I don't think it's an elected official in this village. They got over 3,000 votes when they ran for office, including the mayor. But the citizens of this town have already been given approval for this money. The money was already awarded to the library. It's $4.1 billion, and there's some penalties involved with that money. When it's not spent in a timely fashion, it's going to be your tax dollars and my tax dollars going down the drain. So whatever the qualms are, they need to be resolved. And I just want to let Mr. Jones know this. When I called you and you said the library refused to acknowledge the big gorilla in the room, quoting you, and that's what the problem is, it's not really a professional statement. Big gorilla in the room means you got the power, and that they ignored you, and that's the reason why this whole process has been put to a hold. And you know this, I don't play games. And anything that I say, I can verify the things that I put forth when it comes out my mouth. This whole process has really got very ugly, and the taxpayers, because more than likely, this is probably headed to the courts. And who's gonna pay those legal fees? Eventually, it's gonna be the citizens. Now, I don't know what the statements were made, because I wasn't here regarding somebody feel like they're being bullied. No person on that board can feel like they're being bullied, because you guys have not even had a presentation from the library. You don't know the facts of what the variances were about. It wasn't brought to your attention because the attorneys who represent you guys are hired by the village, also represent the zoning board. You guys have not gotten me the final fact statement from each side. That was done in December. This is the first time in the 2 years I've been sitting that we have not had final facts presented to us. And you can't explain to me why 60 days went by and you guys have not submitted that document for me to sign. This is really some crazy stuff going on. Because nobody, one thing I do believe, I believe in the separation of the entities that are taxing bodies here, because it allows individuals not to have too much power. That goes for the library trustees, that goes for the trustees who've been elected by the people to represent the park district, that goes for the school board trustees. All of them were elected by the people. And people need to have people who are elected to office do what they were put in a position to represent them. So I don't know what the answer is, but I expect somebody needs to give me an answer why we've been put in the middle of this situation, and my members are saying, okay, you guys are gonna ask us to have other hearings. They already sent a letter to me regarding the next one. I need an answer for the people sitting on that board. Because unfinished business means you need to finish the business you got on hand before you start piling other stuff on that plate for them to consider. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Ms. Katrina Arnold.
Good evening, board. As you know, I've been sending letters back and forth to the board. It's my second letter that I've sent. And at this time, I'd like to address the closing remarks that were made by Village Board President Jones regarding the Broadview Public Library District not having a business contract with the village. The Broadview Public Library District and its council and its consultants have been diligent in making sure that the library has complied with every ordinance, written or spoken, that has been presented regarding the process necessary for the library to start its renovation expansion project. At no time during this process, the village council or consultants, or the building zoning administration, or the village board president informed the Broadview Public Library District and its council and consultants that a business contract with the village was necessary for us to complete the process and obtain our zoning for the renovation expansion project. The library has submitted all required documents and fees necessary in order to obtain a zoning board hearing date within variances to the zoning board. The library had not been in if the library had not been in compliance with all written and spoken requirements, then I don't see how the library would have been able to have the opportunity to present for the zoning board to receive a unanimous 7-0 in favor of passing the variance presented. If a contract or process was omitted, it was not the fault of the library and its council and consultants. At this time, again, I'm asking this board to require its council to complete and submit the finding of facts to the zoning board president for his signature so that it can get to you all to review and have a vote on. I'm asking too that the citizen voted 81% for this, and I just think it's just negligence on the board's part not to consider what the people want. And my thing is this whole thing about nobody knowing what's going on. Mr. President, you asked for me to be on this library board, just like you asked for Mr. Jones and Mr. Wyman to be on that board. And we ran supporting you and what you want to do with the library. We've done our job. We're asking you to complete that job. You want to make it sound like you don't know anything that's going on with this library, and you do. We've had you at numerous meetings to talk about this. If things have been going your way, it was a unanimous vote of the board to proceed in different manners. So it's not to say that you weren't involved with this and you don't know anything about it and trying to make it like it's the blame of the library that we are not keeping everybody informed. The thing is, you're not informing your board of what the truth is. And my thing is this: I'm trying to make sure that everybody on the board knows that the library is not doing anything malicious. All we're just trying to do is represent the people of this community who voted 81% that they said they wanted. It wasn't nothing sneaky that was done. It wasn't anything behind their backs. They were informed. We went door to door to make sure they understood it. If anybody have any questions, it's on the website. So my thing is this: stop playing around with taxpayer money, because the thing is, all you want to do is just keep dragging and penny pinching at this money, and they are not going to get the things that were promised for that library. I get so tired of seeing where government entities ask for money, and then all of a sudden you don't see any results from it. I'm not going to sit there and have the library not produce the results that we said that we're going to have by you guys penny pinching us and wasting our time. So please, council, you were there at me. Please submit the finding of facts so that we can get this ball rolling and keep this process going. It's not like it's a hard thing. It's just something that just needs to be done. Submit the part of information. It was supposed to be to the board within 30 days. Not 30 business days, 30 days. So please, I'm asking if the board will make sure that the required council to do what they're supposed to do, if they're paying their bills, let them do their job and pay for what they're supposed to be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arnold. Ms. Lily Yancey.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the Department of Public Works for the fantastic job they've done doing this snow removal, during this harsh winter that we've had, and the way that they have kept the streets and tried to help people. The second thing I'd like to make a comment about is one of our police officers. And you know, I cannot pronounce his last name, but he's Sergeant Tom
Tasca.
Yes. He's fantastic. I don't know if you all are aware of it, but back in December, I was, my credit card information was stolen from Target, so they put some charges on my card. And I came to the village to fill out a report on. And he was so nice and led me through it like I was a little child. You know, I enjoyed that. But anyway, he was so nice and understanding, and he helped me to understand the process of what had to be done. And we filled out the papers, and I just picked up my report today. I'm so proud. Thank you so much.
He cleaned it up? Well, we'll thank Mr. Councilman for you. That's great. Ms. Jordan Gordon.
I have several more things to talk about than I originally anticipated. First of all, number one, I wanted to thank Mr. Ames from Public Works Department because of his forethought of thinking about purchasing the salt last year early. We had an abundance of salt. Yes, some of it we got lost with all the rain, but this is not the only village that had some salt erosion with the big rainstorms that we all had in the fall. But because he did that, I think it saved our village a lot of money, and we went further with the salt than we would have if we had just purchased it with the same amount of money. We would have gotten a lot less. So thanks, Matt Ames. I think you're doing a great job. Number two, Marquita Smith, I think, asked about the sewer things. Who did that? Yeah, the sewer holes. All of us are responsible. My husband spent most of the day clearing out the sewer hole that's in front of our neighbor's house. He said that he was digging away. He says, and I couldn't find it. And he says, finally, I kept chipping away at that because it was covered with a layer of ice and I didn't know it was there. So go out, look for the sewer holes that are by your homes in the middle of the block at the corners, and let's help out, guys. It's all of our responsibility, not just leave it to somebody else to take care of it. It's our responsibility to help that, because it's your home that's going to flood, not their home. It's our own homes, okay? So go out there and dig that sewer cover up. Let's see. Second, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the issues that you've been bringing up about the library. One, I would hope that Mr. Arnold recuses himself from any vote on the board, zoning board connected with the library, considering his wife is a trustee. But two, I also have an issue about that stipend paid to members of boards that are serving our community. I just don't think it's necessary, quite frankly. If you volunteer to do something, you're a volunteer. If you're getting paid to do something, you're an employee. You know, it's a big different thing. And if you're getting paid to do something, then you have a responsibility to take initiative action, not sit there and wait for someone else to do it, and then get up in a public forum if you have not paid your dues of getting up there to try and find out and correct a problem. If you have a problem, it's your responsibility to try and take care of it and do it through the proper methodology. If you've gone through all the steps, then we probably wouldn't have an issue with this. I think that the zoning board has their responsibilities just as the library board has theirs. And for me, hearing what's going on here, I don't think that everybody's done everything they should be doing to get the things accomplished that they want to accomplish. If you had done all the proper steps, I don't think you'd be waiting as long as you have been waiting. And that's something that I can base on from hearing everybody who's been talking about it. Because you cannot expect the mayor and the village board to take action on something unless you have done your due diligence and done your job and done the things right that should be done right. And when you make a comment that 81% of this village voted for this, no, it was 81% of the people who voted at that election, not 81% of the entire village. Because I know a lot of people who might not have been wanting to have an expansion of the library. I still don't think it's such a great idea, but that's what was selected and voted upon, so that's what they're going to do. But you know what? There's procedures in place that need to be handled.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon, and that concludes public comments. Responses to most of the stuff are made at the end of the meeting during the comments from the trustees and myself. So if you stick around, you'll hear my responses to most of the comments that were made in the public comment section. Mr. Clerk?
Item number 3, consideration to approve the following minutes, February 3rd, 2014.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, probably motion by trustee Morris and probably second by trustee Turner. Has everyone reviewed the minutes? Has anyone by voice not seen the minutes or not reviewed the minutes? Has everyone submitted corrections to the clerk if they had any?
Yes.
Have all the corrections been done to you guys' satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay.
Were there corrections made?
Did you make one? Did you need a
No,
correction?
I didn't.
Right.
There was typos, but I
Yeah.
didn't find any errors.
Okay, well, I'm just going through the regular protocol here. So, trustee Marino, anything?
I hadn't seen anything that I thought was wrong. I see the correction now.
Okay.
I have no problem with it, but I was very pleased to see that they were accurate and correct.
Trustee Moore?
No.
Trustee McGreer?
No.
Trustee Turner?
No.
Trustee Benson?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries and those minutes will become part of the record.
Consideration to approve, number 4, consideration to approve expenditures, grand total of funds, $232,355.38.
Motion to approve.
Okay, it's been probably motioned by trustee Moore, probably second by trustee McGreer to approve the expenditures in the total of $232,355.38. Can we have a report from the finance committee?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Some of the larger bills over $2,500 were as follows. All Warren Oil Company, Inc., $22,827.31. AT&T, $4,615.67. Bank of New York Mellon Trust, $50,000 even. Redford Manufacturing, $6,412. Commonwealth Edison, $7,056.68. Cook County Treasurer, $7,056.68. Fire Service, Inc. Did I say that right? No, Cook County Treasurer, $39,451.71. Fire Service, Inc., $4,793.32. Geno's Heating and Plumbing, Inc., $12,636. Guardian Life Insurance, $7,547.16. Law Offices of Philip M. Fornaro, $4,136. Monroe Truck Equipment, $10,146.13. Roche Ford, $25,100. West Cook County Solid Waste Agency, $6,858.99 for a subtotal of $201,580.97. That is 87% of the grand total of $232,355.38.
Thank you, trustee McGreer. Questions, comments, or corrections on these expenditures? Starting with trustee Marino.
None.
Trustee Moore?
None.
Trustee McGreer?
None.
Trustee Turner?
No.
And trustee Benson?
No.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, because this involves the payment of money, we're going to take a roll call on this one, please. A response in the positive means that you will be approving these expenditures, Mr. Clerk.
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Benson.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee McGreer.
Yes.
Trustee Moore.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
And the motion carries unanimously to pay the expenditures of $232,355.38. Mr. Clerk, next agenda item.
Next item on the agenda is number 5, reports from village officers. First is the building department, Commissioner David Upshaw.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Upshaw is unable to be here today. Apparently, we had some collapses in the village of businesses' roofs. So I'm just finding out about it. I do have this report. If you all allow me, I will give you the report. Okay, for the month of January 2013, we collected a total of $132,716.12 in the building department. With that being broken down into permits issued, around, it was 21 of them, totaling $1,683. We have Title 13 inspections done. We had a total of 15, 2625. And then this copy is so black. As for the other contractor registration, I can barely see it on my copy, but there are, I believe, 4 contractor registrations Tickets issued in the amount of 200 and, that says $12.50. My copy is horrible. Vacant property registration, we have one vacant property that has been registered with the building department. What that means, we do have one property lien that has been placed. Can't see what I said to the right. We do have a site plan review that was done. And I can't see the business license. I want to say it says 2. Anyway, we had some permit inspections, 29 of them, and there were 4 complaints made to the building department. That is the benefits report. Just make sure that there was nothing else attached to this other that you wanted to mention. That's it. That's all I have for the report.
Okay, thank you, trustee Benson.
Next, Finance Department, Jan Baptist.
Mr. Jones, Judge Trustees, citizens, and business owners. The general fund activities for the month of January 2014. In the month of January, the village generated $1,178,000 in revenue, but we expended $1,316,000 in expenses. So for the month, we had a net deficit of $138,000. On a year-to-date basis, through January 31st, the general fund is yielding a net surplus of just under $4,000. In the revenue area in January, we collected $73,000 in property taxes, $234,000 in sales taxes, $90,000 in utility taxes, $49,000 in state income taxes, $12,000 in corporate replacement taxes, and $12,000 in state use taxes. Locally, the building department generated $150,000 in building permits and inspection activities. This includes the annual business and liquor licenses. The police department generated $37,000, and the fire department $75,000. Also in January, the village did promptly receive the $328,000 FEMA grant reimbursement towards the purchase of the new fire engine. We also expended that money on in the month of January. And after we collected about $16,000 in various workers' comps and insurance reimbursements. Looking at the spending in January, labor and benefits, which is typically most of our spending, only accounts for $46,000, and that's primarily because of the large capital outlay that we did. We spent $379,000 on the purchase of a new fire engine, of which I just said the FEMA grant actually very promptly, I mean within a week, reimbursed us the 85% that they funded. Also, the police department purchased a new vehicle for $26,000 and some radio equipment. So that sort of skewed the overall spending in January. In contractual services, the village expended $54,000 in labor professional service fees, $59,000 on our general liability insurance. Our new premiums kicked in for the year 2014. $49,000 in various repair and maintenance expenses. $11,000 paid to Broadview Public Library and replacement taxes. $11,000 spent on the fire school equipment, and $8,000 in towing. Let's see. On a year-to-date basis, 9 months in, so we're talking about basically 3 quarters of the year completed. Our revenues are actually running behind trend at 66%, but our expenses on the other hand are running right in trend with budget. So compared to last year, even though we're running behind budget, our year-to-date January revenues are still $1 million higher than last year. This time last year, our expenses though are also higher by 1.4 million. Looking at the individual categories of revenue, I decided to sort of give you a synopsis of what to expect come down the year. You look at property taxes, the lowest as far as percentage of budget, but as you know, property taxes are basically a cyclical revenue stream. The first installment of the tax 2013 levies, the bills have been sent out. I'm sure all of you all have received yours. I've received mine. And they're due in March based on 55% of last year's extension. So noting what last year's extensions are and the fact that we pretty much collect about 95%, 97% a year, I'm sure by the end of the year will be our fiscal year budget. Our sales taxes are trending right in line with the budget. Our utility taxes are still trending low, particularly in the phone taxes, which are only 65% of budget. In the intergovernmental area, state income taxes and corporate replacement taxes are trending ahead of budget and much higher than last year. Also, the village is benefiting from grants that we have in place, both the COPS grant, the NEMAC grant, and soon to be the SAFER grant, all of which reimburses the village for personnel costs as it relates to fire and police personnel that are being funded by the grant will be reimbursed. And then, of course, we talked about again the FEMA grant. And lastly, the police has increased quite a bit in their asset forfeiture and their activities. This also added to a favorable. On a local level, if you look overall, from all our local sources, we're right at budget with 75% of the budget and 87,000 more than last year. However, in Pacific areas, fines and forfeitures are running behind budget. As far as other revenues, last year, year to date, we're exceeding last year's primarily due to workers' comp. We have a number of personnel who have been on extended sick leave, for which we get 67% reimbursement back. So that's actually, we're getting it back. However, budget includes, in our revenues, we actually included the possibility of a new fire protection contract. I don't know if you all remember with the Hines. We're still, the fire department is still pursuing it. However, the likelihood of it actually being decided and proceeding in this fiscal year is less likely. But it's not, it's not a lost cause. It just won't happen in this fiscal year. I know that the chief is still working diligently to get it back. So that'll impact year-end revenues. And lastly, in the other financing area, I still have one fund transfer which I'll be submitting. It'll be the funding basically of Social Security Medicare portion to go to the IMRF fund. And we are also expecting the second payment as it relates to the signing easement. So with all these things happening, I think we'll make budget by the end of the year for revenue. Now, my purpose of giving you all that detail. On a year-to-date basis, how y'all just looking at me? On a year-to-date basis, okay, I'm gonna shut up. But in the expenses, overall we're trending right along with the budget, but there are specific departments that are running beyond budget. Pretty much the same explanations that in a couple cases will actually carry on for the whole year. In the executive department, the year-to-date legal expenses continue to be the primary reason for the overage in that area. The same thing is happening with the village clerk. In the finance department, it appears to be run over, but that's because they include the 4-year one-time payment of the debt services. So when you annualize it, it distorts it. That aside, we're right on track to finish that, post-budget. And in the public works department, they've had quite a bit of higher labor costs due to use of seasonal workers and all this and all of the activity, and then again the one-time alley construction activity was constructed. And that concludes my report for the month of February.
Thank you, Ms. Baptist. Questions or comments for the finance director, trustee Marino?
None.
Trustee Morris? No. Trustee McGrill? Trustee Turner?
Yes. You said there's higher telephone costs.
Yeah, it is. I can follow up. I've been seeing all your emails. You haven't gotten satisfactory answer? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I've been trying to stay out of those emails. But since you're trying to pull me in, I'll put it on the list.
Thank you.
Trustee Benson? I have nothing for you, Mr. Director. Thank you very much.
Next report is Fire Department. Assistant Chief.
I apologize. I'm going to read this so that I have to
You gotta go.
Chief Gardner, he's in Springfield at a Mavis conference. He went out yesterday in the snow and he did make it. It was a little rough. I'm going to give the monthly report for January 2014. During the past month, we responded to 224 emergency calls that included 4 box alarm structure fires and 2 car fires. The rundown for our contracts, Loyola Hospital, we responded there 5 times for fire response, 17 times for ambulance. Total for the month and year is 22. Then the campus for Loyola, the outpatient center, 0 for fire, 2 for ambulance, 2 for the month and the year for the total. Heinz VA, ambulance response, we responded there 18 times. And JJ Madden, we responded to 3 fire alarms, 7 ambulance calls, total of 10 for the month and year. Inspector Merzak, he performed 16 inspections, 7 home inspections. There was 40 violations cited. Training summary, in the past month we completed 250 hours. The summary is going to get longer and longer because of our 7 new personnel. They're doing a wonderful job. Brought a lot of energy back into the department, which is great. So everybody's learning as well. In reference to Chief Gardner, he attended the following meetings: the village board meeting, Division 20 Chiefs meeting, Loyola EMS coordinators meeting, our staff officers meeting, the strategic plan meeting, Loyola meeting, union negotiations, Metro Chiefs Executive Board, safety meeting, the streetscape meeting, Centennial Committee meeting, and the PDAC meeting. Billing information, filled out 10,500 for Loyola Hospital, 14,520 for Heinz VA, and 5,250 for JJ Madden, total of $31,020. For the month of, I believe this should be January and August. We received $50,703.32 in collections for services to Loyola Heinz JJ Madden Hospital. We collected $13,259.76 from PBS, paramedic billing service, with a net collection of $14,805.99. We owe them $805.92 due to the record deposit. Chief Gardner also wanted me to notify the residents in the back. Let's see a sheet. And this is from Cook County, that they're actually performing a hazard mitigation plan to reduce the risk for natural hazards and to guide decision makers as they commit resources to reducing the effects of natural hazards. If you pick one of these up, you show you a website, go online, take the survey. We really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And that's my report.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Questions or comments from the members of the board? Trustee Marino?
Yes, I don't remember which day it was, but in the last couple of days, a firefighter came to our house and asked a couple of questions about whether or not we had smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. Is that the survey that you're referring to? This is something different.
Chief Gardner's looking to do a grant for smoke detectors for all the residents within
Okay.
the village. And we did that a while ago, a long time ago, it seems like yesterday, but most of those are out of date
Right.
and should be replaced. And that's through a grant, that's strictly that. But there's a survey and everything else we have to do with that.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Moore?
No.
Trustee McGreer? No. Trustee Turner? No. Trustee Benson?
Thank you for your time and I apologize for the week.
Thank you, Deputy Walton. Good deal. I guess Dave's gonna say the garden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Meeting.
Huh?
Meeting.
Yeah, great. I'm sure that's fun. Mr. Clerk?
The next report from the village officers, police department, Chief Figueroa.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees, residents. Month of January, the police department has brought on a volunteer. His name is Donald B. Norton. He's a retired investigator with the United States Attorney's Office of the Northern District, retired captain from the Illinois State Police, as well as a retired colonel from the U.S. military. He has over 50 years of law enforcement experience and is willing to share his knowledge and skills in contacts with our personnel. He will assist our efforts in community outreach towards our senior programs, as well as assisting the office of the chief as needed. So he's been in here for a week. I look at him as a consultant, and he has already provided some insights and direction on several of our sensitive cases that my office is working on. In addition to that, in the rear of the back, we have our SCAM, which is a Senior Crime Awareness Meeting that's coming up March 7th. He's going to be part of that, and as you can see, that Aurelia Paczynski, who is a justice for the Illinois Supreme Court, is going to come in and talk to the seniors about scams as well, which she has seen and provide some insights on that. So in a week, he's done a lot, and I'm glad for his expertise and so far for his pro bono. The Broadview Police Department is submitted to the Board of Trustees the first quarter strategic plan, and some of these have talked about it. This is something that is not new to law enforcement. It's not new to public or private. We have to work on a strategic plan. We have to know where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. And I think we have a very good plan in place that's going to get to where we need to be. So the crime index for January, we had 32 of those are the violent crimes, property crimes, and compared to 28 in 2013. For arrest comparison for the month, so we're talking about felony misdemeanors, village ordinance violation, other agency warrants. We had 51 for January, 14, and in December we had 34. For total citations, that's administrative citations, traffic citations, 634 for January and 543 for December. We had, I know that the finance director indicated we brought in 37,000 for the month of January. We brought in 54 or 55,000, however, 18,000 of that is pending court disposition. Those are our overweight trucks, so we're doing a hell of a job in that aspect or that category, but we have to wait until the courts dispose of those citations. In January, we had 1,676 calls as compared to 1,832 calls in December. 4 parties were processed as sex or violent offenders residing in Broadview. 1 resident was fingerprinted for employment or volunteer reasons. 30 cases were assigned to the Detective Bureau. 17 were cleared upon investigation, and 15 arrests being made, resulting in a 56.7% solvability factor for the month. An additional 11 prior assigned cases were cleared resulting in a 12-month solvability factor of 66.88%. Our community outreach, Sergeant Koskic attended the monthly neighborhood watch meeting. So I talked about the scam for our seniors. We're going to try to do that every quarter. As you are aware, we put out this police watch, the Operation Triangle. I know I've talked about Operation Triangle since I've been here. That's a multi-jurisdictional law enforcement operation between Maywood, Bellwood, Broadview, the Illinois State Police, and going after guns, drugs, and gangs. We did a pretty good job the other day. We're also giving free gun locks. I know that concealed carry is coming about, so we ordered some gun locks, and we had them here at the station. Again, we talked about scam alert, and if you've seen the news, they're constantly coming upon, or they're calling you, providing you information. If it's too good to be true, it's not true. So think about that. That's one of the things what we want to talk to the seniors about. We're also putting in our crime alert, have you seen these people? So if you know someone that's in this picture, call us, because these are persons of interest. And then obviously we talked about our centennial. We changed our patches. We have now new patches where I identified the year that we were established, as well as we're wearing a badge, which is our 100-year badge that we wear now for a year. And then the police officers that want will pay for it, or the FOP is going to pay for it. In the back, we also put down banking and ATM crime prevention, so we're putting some tips out there for the public, what to do when you're going to your ATM. I do it myself. I do carry a gun off duty, so I'm constantly familiarized with my surroundings. But those that don't have a gun, just be cognizant of your surroundings, whether it's at the ATM or at the gas station when you're pumping the gas, as people saw a week ago how the police officer shot a young kid for an attempted robbery. So be cognizant of that. Again, there are tips back there. Soon, summer's coming. I can't believe that, but soon we'll be out and your windows down, cars unlocked in your driveway. Guess what? People are going to walk around. We had last year, we had a stream of thefts. We caught the kids, but try to prevent that from happening by putting the windows up and locking the doors. Just because of your driveway, don't mean anything. Also, I want to talk about the neighborhood watch. They meet every last Friday of the month. That's an important component to the success of the police department. As you can see that our calls for services has increased, and a lot of those calls are citizens calling saying, I see someone walking, looks suspicious, or there's a car that's been sitting there. That's what we need, and at times, those are really good calls because we'll end up with a positive arrest. And I believe that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Chief Zaguera. Questions or comments from the members of the board? Trustee Marino?
No.
Trustee Moore?
Nah,
Trustee Green?
None.
Trustee Turner?
Yes, I just have one quick question. Are you going to start back this summer, going to each subdivision and having
Yes.
the meetings with the residents?
Harvester's next.
Okay. Do you know when it's going to start, or?
I have to sit down with Sergeant Koskic, look at my schedule and his schedule.
Thank you.
Trustee Benson?
Just a quick note, the fourth quarter progress report that you sent out, it looks really good, but I just want to write down harvesters next, so I don't forget it, but I want to say about it. Okay, you said you don't know. It's really good, it's different from the last one that I read, but I think you said that it was coming. I actually have a lot of questions. I wrote them all down while I was at work, and type it up for you, and shoot it off to you. But it sounds good, I just want extra information as always.
That's good.
All right.
And it is different.
You gonna
because
see it in a minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
you start out with, this is what we need to do, and then where is it updating, whether we're doing it or we're not doing it, if we're not doing it, why?
Right, then like has all broken down operating business, so it's easy to read that way. Good job.
Thank you, Chief. Go ahead. Mr. Clerk?
Next item, Public Works Department, Matt Ames, Interfaith Construction, Inc.
Yes, I have a report, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, residents, board, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Ames is out tonight. I have a couple of items to report regarding Public Works. Number one, of course, everyone has seen the amount of snow we've gotten, and I have to take my hat off to Public Works and the excellent job that they've done in keeping up with the snow removal in lieu of having no salt. I know they were out all night last night till 5 a.m. getting all of the areas cleared so that the sun that we got today, thank God, could melt the streets and make them passable. I think it's very important, as Mrs. Gordon mentioned earlier, about the residents taking part in the upkeep of our village. This is not any one person's village, this is our village. So in the summertime, when we have the storms and the trees and the branches that clog the sewers, if you got a minute, take a broom and sweep the stuff away from the sewer so the lines flow properly, so the water can flow, because this is your property that's going to get damaged from floods. This is not any one person's property, this is yours. And Public Works has been and will be continuing to remove the snow and then cut the corners. And I've seen them out there with the loader, the back loader, the dump trucks, not the dump trucks, the backhoes and the bucket trucks, taking the snow away from the sewers to allow water flow to properly hit the sewer lines. That will be ongoing. Potholes. There's a lot of potholes out here. I don't need to tell you, I'm sure you've seen the same ones I've seen, but the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And IDOT has a number, it's a hotline number, that we can certainly contact with regards to the streets that they have jurisdiction over. And that's 17th Avenue, Roosevelt Road, Cermak, and 25th. All calls that are complaints for potholes should go to Public Works, and they in turn will contact IDOT for those that are out of our jurisdiction. But you can help that process. Each call that they get, it just moves that pothole that they reported up on the priority list. So like today, I got a couple of calls on a pothole that's out in front of the Target as you exit on the 17th Avenue. It's a huge one. It'll tear up your whole front end. Make the call to IDOT. I have that number. I will provide that number on the village website under the Public Works Department after tonight. That number, if you have your pen, is 1-800-452-4368. And that, again, is to report to IDOT potholes. And also, Public Works number is 708-681-3602. Public Works, more than any of our departments, including the police and fire department, have had to do more with less. And we realize that there are some priorities in the village regarding fleet, equipment, manpower, etc. And Public Works has taken a back seat in the last few years with regards to capital purchases, capital expenditures. This is the year that we're going to put together our wish list. The director and I have sat down on numerous occasions for the past few years and discussed needs, wants, wish lists, etc. I don't know, was that you, Ms. Redmond, or was that, no, it was Ms. Williams that mentioned the streets, the sidewalks, I should say, on Roosevelt Road, where the businesses have not taken responsibility for their time and show with the sidewalk. So what we're going to do is propose to purchase a street sidewalk sweeper. And I don't know if you've seen in other towns or on TV or on the internet, a small enough truck that will fit on the sidewalk with a big round brush that sweeps the snow off the sidewalk so that people can visit our business district and be able to be mobile on the sidewalk. That may or may not happen depending on what other priorities we have in the budget, but it's certainly one of those wish list items that we know will improve the quality of life in Broadview. A couple of other things that we're going to be looking at, bucket lift trucks. We currently rent from one of the outside vendors bucket lift truck to enable us to do our annual pruning. It's very important this year because last year when we got back the report with the ash borer trees that need to come down, there's quite a bit of trees that need pruning and need to be removed. So we're going to be looking at putting that into place as well. We talked a couple of meetings ago and also last meeting about the depletion of our salt supply and the ruining of so much salt. We have a terrible design, and this is in no part fault to the public works that are in place, but way back when this salt dome or salt cover was built, they built it with the opening facing west. And most engineers know that the storms, whether it be rain or snow, the storms come in from the west. So automatically we were doomed for failure right there. The new design, when in fact we can get this thing up and functional, will definitely be taking into consideration Chicago weather, the direction of the storm, and whether it's down at Public Works or another area that we have discussed in the village, we will be able to alleviate that problem with wasted monies on ruined salt. Again, I mentioned a couple of meetings ago that we have retrofitted our street sweeper with the vector machine, which sucks up the sludge in the sewer, so we can have proper sewer maintenance every year to prevent flooding and to, have clean air, clean waterways. We're looking at purchasing a vector truck. That's going to be on the wish list as well. And a couple of other items that we've discussed will be on there too, but we know what the priorities are, and we're hoping that now that it's budget time, we can get some of this stuff in place. Mr. Mayor, that concludes the report for Public Works.
Thank you, Trustee McGrill. Mr. Clerk?
Next item is number 6, communications. We have none today. Item number 7, old business, none. Item number 8, new business. A, consideration of an ordinance to approve the facade improvement agreement by and between the Village of Broadview and Hildebrand Sporting Goods Incorporated concerning real estate commonly known as 1809 Roosevelt Road for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Probably motion by Trustee McGrill, probably second by Trustee Benson. For the public that's in the room that's not aware, we do have a facade program for those businesses along our commercial corridor along Roosevelt Road, where the village actually assists them in updating and upgrading their signage. And as you all know, Hildebrand has been a staple in the community for well over 50 years. Bud Hildebrand was well known throughout the sports community, including White Sox, Cubs, Chicago Bears, and some other notorious professional sports. I'm thinking that they may even preserve the original sign from on the wall out there, but this right here is just to upgrade and update their signage and to conform it to what our coming streetscape program is going to look like. So if there's any questions or comments from the members of the board, so unfortunately Upshaw's not here, nor is anyone from Hildebrand here? Nobody from Hildebrand, I don't see anybody from Hildebrand here. Questions or comments from the members of the board? Trustee Marino?
No, I have none.
Trustee Moore?
No.
Trustee McGrill?
None.
Trustee Turner?
No.
And Trustee Benson?
I do. At the last board meeting, I did make an announcement that Broadview was doing a lot that they could do to bring businesses here and to get Roosevelt Road up and going. So this is just another example of facade programs and of the actual businesses reaching out to help us with this facade program, with the streetscape program, and make sure Roosevelt Road tries to look a little bit better for our residents. I just wanted to say that again, because stuff like this keeps happening, and I'm glad that it does. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Benson. Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call on, please?
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Benson.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee McGrill.
Yes.
Trustee Moore.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries unanimously for the facade fixtures at the Hildebrand Sports Club. Mr. Clerk?
Next, new business. B, consideration of an ordinance correcting a certain scrivener's error in the ordinance number 2008-29 for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by McGrill, second by Trustee Morris. Mr. Clerk, Mr. Attorney, you want to tell them what the scrivener's error is so everybody knows, what was changed?
What happened was we have had to do a little bit of house cleaning to correct some errors that our predecessors made. Back in August of 2008, they passed this ordinance for planning and development, but they never recorded it. So in our attempt to record it, we reviewed it and found that the legal description that they used was incorrect. It only covered one lot, when this is actually an agreement that covers 4 lots. So what we had to do is go back and pass this ordinance to correct the error in the original ordinance, and then both of these will be taken and recorded properly, and future owners of any parcels will be aware of this agreement, whereas they weren't previously because the prior attorneys didn't record it.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Questions or comments from the members of the board? Trustee Marino?
None.
Trustee Morris?
No.
Trustee McGrath? Trustee Turner?
No.
And Trustee Benson?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, that ordinance will be passed, become part of the record with the correction. Mr. Clerk?
C, consideration of an ordinance to approve an agreement by and between the Village of Broadview and True North Consultants for the provision of engineering services for 1301 through 1331 Roosevelt Road for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Trustee McGrath, second by Trustee Benson. This particular expenditure is for us to take a look at the remediation on the property at 1314 Roosevelt Road, which is a vacant lot currently owned by the Village of Broadview. We have an offer on the table right now for the purchase of said property, but before we can move on with the development agreement with it and the actual sale of the property, we need to make sure that this property is remediated for all hazards and contaminants. So what they're going to be looking at is underground tanks over there to make sure that there's none existing, and then we can go on with the process. Questions or comments? I'm sure the attorney can answer them. If I misspoke, Mr. Attorney, let me know. That's pretty much it, right?
It is. That's exactly what it is.
If you got questions or comments for myself or the attorney, Trustee Marino?
No, I just wanted to say that it's not a major expenditure. It's $1,300 for the testing, and if it'll facilitate development, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Trustee Marino. Trustee Morris?
No.
Trustee McGrath? No. Trustee Turner?
No.
And Trustee Benson?
I sent my questions off and they were answered the same day. Thank you.
May I have a roll call, Mr. Clerk, sir?
Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Benson.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee McGrath.
Yes.
Trustee Warren.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes?
And that motion also carries unanimously, and we will move forward with that, Mr. Attorney, sir.
Next item on the agenda is 9, applications for the authority to expend funds. We have none, which brings us to 10, committee reports. First one is water, drainage, and health. Trustee Brown Marino.
No report.
Thank you, Trustee Brown Marino.
Fire, police, and civil service. Trustee Morris.
Good evening. You know, I think it's just, it goes without saying what the police chief, you know, what him and the fire chief do is just crazy. I mean, he done went out and now he done solicited another top-ranking official to come aboard, and they just following him. You know, just because of the type of person that he is, they, you know, it's just, you know, you get tired of telling this guy that he's doing a great job. So, you know, it's just, it's different. But then, you know, I was hoping, you know, and God be with me, I was just hoping that Mr. Arnold would have left this meeting by now before I say what I'm about to say. But
Trustee Morris.
yes, no, this is part of my report though, because what he is speaking to was when I was on the finance, and I'm on the finance committee right now. So this is just directing something that he said.
But it's fire, police, and civil service reports. And
Okay.
I apologize.
But you know what? I'm just gonna say this though. When you come before people, all these people in here, and you say certain things that's out of line, and another person has the answer to what him and his lovely wife came in here to talk about, I think that any board member that wants to address it in the proper manner should be able to get his 3 minutes. Because as far as the library is concerned, I'm definitely for it. My son is in 5th grade out here. But don't come in here getting loud with the mayor telling us what he think needs to happen when, first of all, he say that they slowing up on a stipend. For one, when they came in here and asked for a stipend, the zoning board, this board said no. Know that. We said no. His friend at the time, the mayor, they found a loophole, jumped through it, and paid them. Now, secondly, after he found out that I was the one that said no, Mr. Arnold called me, told me, and it's funny that his wife is in here. He told me out his mouth, like he just said, he quoted something from the mayor, that if we did not pay them that stipend, that he was gonna have his wife to slow down that process for building this library. So, you can look at me crazy if you want to, but I even told the police chief right here. I called him the same day you told me that, and I told you that this call could be recorded, because you sound like you was threatening me.
Point of order.
It's point of order, but that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to correct that.
You know what?
No, it's not. You told me. Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm done. That's my report.
Mr. Clerk?
Streets, sidewalks, and alleys, trustee McGreer.
Very quickly, I wanted to mention the streetscape program will be starting this spring, weather permitting, and we're going to be starting west on Roosevelt Road at about 23rd Avenue, working their way east. And with that being said, we have a committee for the Centennial Celebration that has been meeting, and our Centennial Celebration planning is underway, and we're planning a parade, we're planning festivities, and the parade's route is currently being discussed because of the streetscape and how we can possibly miss all of that construction. So as time goes, we'll be able to better determine a route. We have a tentative date, which probably will be written in stone soon, for the big celebration, and that's July 26th. Our tentative plan currently is to start the parade at the fire department and end up in the Village Square Mall. As we have further developments that we can report on, I will keep you aware or keep you abreast, either myself or one of the other committee members. But I'm just looking forward to all of Broadview, including the business partners that we have in the community, to get together and make this big festivity a giant celebration of Broadview. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Trustee Morris. Mr. Trustee McGreer.
The next report is building and public property, trustee Turner.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to say, please try to keep your garbage lids, keep them down. If you see any garbage lids from your neighbors or apartment buildings, tell them to put it down. We have critters running around here, four-legged critters. Weather is starting to break, and we're going to see more. If you see lights that are not working, you can notify me, and I will notify the proper authority here at the village, so I can report it so we can get the lights fixed. Same thing with bushes and wires. If you see anything that's not right, you can send me an email. I will respond to you, okay? And my email is gturner@broadview-il.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Turner. Mr. Clerk?
Business committee, trustee Benson.
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I really want to say this because Woody already started it. Okay.
Point of order, business.
Okay, I know it's business, but he said that the board voted on something. that actually we didn't get to vote on. I want that corrected for the record. If
I'll
someone,
respond to
can
that.
you respond to that, please? Because I remember what happened, and could you respond to that, please? Okay, because it's bothering me. Not that what he said was bad. I'm just saying, let's make sure it's correct for the record. Now, the library is a business.
No.
Well, I can't make my comments.
Frustrating, isn't it?
I'll let it go. No further.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk,
Finance Committee, Trustee Abraham.
does anybody have a report from finance?
I do not.
I don't have anything outstanding, Mr. Mayor.
I will let everyone know that we are in the process of creating our budget for the coming fiscal year. We should be running basically on time on our regular timeline for that, and should be in compliance. So just to let everybody know, we are in our budget discussions. Mr. Clerk?
The next is Village Clerk, I have no report. And then number 12, Village President Sherman Jones.
Okay. Considering all of the comments that were made early on in tonight's meeting, I'm not going to make any broad speech myself or discuss anything specific. I mean, I'm going to respond to quite a few of the things that were spoken about earlier. But before I do that, let me make a couple of notes. At your homes and at your residences, especially those of you that live in apartment buildings, if you are removing snow from your driveway or from your walkway, please refrain from putting it in the alley, refrain from putting it in the street, and refrain from piling it up around your garbage containers, because it's prohibiting, it's making it difficult for groups to collect the garbage. And that garbage ends up piling up out there. I got a couple of locations in town where we're gonna have to go out there with the front end loader, probably remove some snow to get access to some garbage dumpsters so the group can collect the garbage. They got like 2 weeks of garbage sitting out there. And that's an invitation to rodents and some other things. So please take care of that. I'd like to make a note that the Public Works Director worked last night and this morning, which is why he was not available. He wanted to come in and say some things, and I'll let him do his own talking when he gets back here for the next board meeting. The building commissioner is on site at Garda. Garda had an issue today, just so that everyone knows, where the roof began collapsing on the front of the building and ended up taking on water in the front of the building. So we had the fire department out there and the building inspectors out there because the roof was collapsing, similar to the way, those of you that remember 17th and Roosevelt, where the old video store was, Rossi Brothers Furniture was, and the roof collapsed. It's the same type of situation. We also had this situation that occurred on 9th Avenue, at 2412 9th Avenue. We ended up having to block off 9th Avenue because the roof was collapsing over there, and it's a danger to pedestrians walking down the sidewalk over there. So we got some issues where the snow is on the roof, and then it starts melting, and it's frozen in the gutter, so it just sits on the roof, and then it just drops the building down. As it relates to some of our expenditures, Trustee McGreer spoke about the fact that we had spent a lot of money on the police and fire department, and we had kind of put public works on the backside. We didn't completely put them on the backside. We did get them 2 new snow plows and some other things that they needed, but we had to prioritize where we spent our money, and we chose to spend it on public safety first, starting with the police department, and secondly the fire department, which had outdated equipment and cars and things like that. So we pretty much addressed the police and fire department, and since public safety was job one, that's where we went. As it relates to the potholes in the streets, we've got a couple of streets in town that are not village-owned streets. They're owned by the state or the county, and they're responsible for the snow plowing of Roosevelt Road, 25th and 17th Avenue. Those potholes are ultimately their responsibility. We try to fix them if we had the opportunity to, but we have limited resources. We don't have the same resources that the state has to do that type of information. that type of repairs. Trustee McGree gave you all some information. We'll make sure that it's put on the website so you can share with your friends and neighbors to notify that. We'll follow up and stay on their back to make sure that they fix those potholes as we speak about them. And those potholes on our public streets that are our responsibility. We can't be everywhere. We don't see everything. Please let us know. Just like you told me about the sinkhole or the swelling in your alleyway on 18th. We'll be out there to take a look at that and see if there's anything we can do structural-wise to fix that so that you don't have any flooding. Going on to the comments from early on in tonight's meeting. One of the first comments that was brought up by Ms. Williams, and that relates to the clearing of the sidewalks on Roosevelt Road and some of our other commercial corridors. And Trustee McGreer spoke about the fact that we're trying to fund and purchase a street sidewalk snow removal machine, similar to the one we had years ago that, for whatever reason, this village decided to do away with. They did away with quite a few items that would be very useful today. But in the meantime, what I will do though, and I'll let you know by the next board meeting exactly what the village ordinance is, are on file as it relates to the business owners actually clearing the fronts of their storeways from end to end, from the far west to the far eastern end of their structures. I do know that the challenge is going to be the state of Illinois and those trucks coming up and down Roosevelt Road, pushing that snow right back up onto those sidewalks. That's been a problematic. So if you drive down Roosevelt Road, you can see the snow doesn't look like snow, it looks like a pile of mud because it's all the dirt and everything from Roosevelt Road where those trucks put the salt down and then remove the snow. But we'll try to address it the best way we can, and whatever resources that we have, we will take care of that. As it relates to the water rates, yes, I am part of that group. I meet with the Proviso Township mayors every month. We also meet with the West Central Municipal Conference and have a joint process in place to try to address the rates that are being imposed upon us by the city of Chicago. All of the communities are impacted and affected, and we all feel that it's not fair. We've even gone so far as to contact the state reps and the state senators to see if they can put legislation in place that will actually determine and govern how the rates will be determined by the city of Chicago as it relates to the suburban community. So stay tuned. I'll let you know what comes about of that. And you know, that's all I can give you right now. I can't give you any more particulars on it, but we're working on it. Before I get to the library, let me talk about the rest of the stuff. The locks and the gates. The locks and the gates. I don't have no key to no locks or the gates. What we are doing in Broadview, just so that you know, as it relates to being prepared for those of you that are concerned about flooding in the area, Public Works, and while they can't be everywhere, they do have a process in place to go around and clear all the storm drains. They'll be clearing storm drains at each and every one of the corners. You're going to identify those storm drains that are in the alleys where there are alleys, and in the middle of blocks where there may be storm drains in the middle of blocks. They may miss some, they're human. If in fact they miss a storm drain by your location, please call them and let them know. We'll come out and we'll clear it. We've actually bought butane torches to actually melt the ice where we can't crack it or can't get to it with our equipment because it's too big or too cumbersome. So we've got some torches where we can get down in there and actually melt the ice so that we can get the snow and water free flowing into the storm drains. That's the library. Postal issues, post office. We put on the website the contact information, and I sent out a robocall. I had the fire chief send out a robocall to direct you on how to process your complaints with the Postal Service. Please give them the first opportunity to correct your mail issues. I know we've got village-wide mail issues, as do some of our neighbors. I was in a meeting last Monday with the congressman, and Marquita was there. We had some other mayors from some surrounding towns who were also having difficulties with the mail, so we're not alone in this. However, they do have a responsibility to get us our mail reasonably. I can understand 30 degrees below zero, we don't get the mail. 3 feet of snow, we don't get mail, but to not get mail for 7 or 8 days in a row, that's problematic for me and calls for some concern. I've got a fellow postal employee over here right now. I know he's been at work every day, but we still should be getting our mail. So there is a pecking order. There are several different venues for you to be able to go through, who to contact, websites, phone numbers, local phone numbers here in Carroll Spring, and then ultimately, if you don't get any kind of satisfactory response from the Postal Service, please contact the Congressman's office. His number is also on the website, so just go to the link on the website. It'll give you all the information. Trying to make sure I get to everything before I get to this library issue. All right, I think that covered everything. Let me talk about the library, a couple of things. First off, the zoning board. I've got an email here, by the way, authored by Ms. Thompson. I mean, not Ms. Thompson, Ms. Arnold, Katrina Arnold. And it's just disturbing, and it basically attempts to point the finger at the village board for something that has not been presented to us. That's what's the biggest disturbing thing, and it accuses me of slowing down the process. Specifically, and I'm going to read it verbatim right out of the email. Currently, Village President Sherman Jones is stalling the process for the library to move forward with its renovation/expansion project. In that he is accusing the Broadview Public Library District of not having a business contract with the Village of Broadview. Let me stop right there. We have a process for construction and development within the Village of Broadview. And the very first part of that process is to make sure that you have zoning, proper zoning for whatever project it is that you're planning to do. You don't create the project, go get the funds, and do a project that's outside of village zoning regulations, and then after the fact, as an afterthought, come to the village and ask us to change our zoning to accommodate your structure. That's not how the process works. We've got checkers going up on Roosevelt Road and 17th right now. That's in the plan. Well, guess what? They came to the village. They said, we want to build a checkers. We know that zoning is A, B, C, D, E, and we need to make sure that we do whatever. It took us months to hammer out that agreement and that deal to make sure that they were compliant with village zoning ordinances and zoning regulations. And they're going to go forward with their deal. That's not what happened in this particular case. We've got other entities that have come to Broadview, and they've taken a look at the zoning. And any lawyer, attorney, legal person, any engineer, any architect, any general contractor doing any kind of business with anybody knows that before they can just decide that they're just going to erect something anywhere, that they need to make sure they're in compliance with local, village, city laws as it relates to construction, zoning, and ordinances. That comes before you even start making an agreement. You got to get the deal done properly up front. And what I said in the last board meeting, it was on tape, and it's there for you all to see on our website. And what I specifically said was that somebody made a mistake in the process with the library board because they put the cart in front of the horses. And now you want to bully the village into acting on it prematurely on information that we don't even have in front of us yet. So their angst should be directed between the village attorney and the zoning board attorney and the zoning board to get that stuff to the village. They're already at us and we don't have the information. The conversation should be right in your own household, Ms. Arnold. You should be talking to Mr. Arnold about why the zoning board doesn't have their stuff from the attorney, and Mr. Arnold's complaint should be with the attorney on why he hasn't given them the information. We can't do anything with it until it gets to the president of the zoning board. He signs off to verify that the findings of fact are exactly what happened in that zoning meeting. Then it comes to us. But you're asking us to do something that's outside of our control. So don't say I'm stalling the process or the board's stalling the process, because that's absolutely, positively, unequivocally not the case. I just need everybody to know that that's not the case. As it relates to the stipend for the zoning board was a volunteer position. It was an unpaid position. I took it upon myself, and Mr. Arnold knows that I took it upon myself And in spite of what members of the board position was on it, to make sure that they got some kind of compensation for their time, effort, fuel costs, or whatever the case may be. It's not a huge stipend, it's a small stipend. But in doing that, and unfortunately I didn't share that with Mr. Arnold, I created a process on how we were going to do it. Problem is that the library did not follow the initial process, and thus we are at a quasi-Mexican standoff in this particular situation. So with that being said, we're waiting on the findings of facts. I don't want this to get any uglier than it is, but I do think that the angst is misplaced at this time with this particular board, because nobody on this board has seen anything, and it's had absolutely nothing to do with the process at this point. At this point, the process has gone as far as to go in front of the zoning board, for the zoning board to do whatever they did, and the zoning board right now is waiting on the findings of facts. That's where the process is stalled at right now. That's between the zoning board president, and the attorneys, not this board that you're sitting in front of today. You know, and that's why I get offended when you come in here and try to lean on us to do something that we don't have any control over at this time. We don't have no control over that. And ultimately, if you need an answer on what the holdup is on why the findings of facts have not been done, I don't know. I haven't talked to the attorneys. I think that's a conversation to be had outside of this particular meeting, because this is the village board meeting, not a zoning meeting. I think that's something that should go on between the members of the zoning board and legal counsel, and they need to squash that, whatever the case may be. So it's not about playing games, and I'm certainly not here to play games. And yeah, I did say the gorilla in the room, but it was just a figure of speech. It wasn't that I was trying to not be professional. And when I was referring to the gorilla in the room, I was talking about the village. The library board acted totally oblivious to the entire village altogether, although we are the governing body that determines zoning, and we have to approve the variances. But nobody, it had never gotten to us yet. They just decided to do whatever they were going to do, and now they're going to try to impose their desires and their wills upon this board. Hey, this is what we're going to do, and yeah, now you all deal with it, you know? And that, I think, is unfair to us. I think it's absolutely, totally unfair to us. None of us were sitting in those library board meetings demanding that they do anything. I went to some of them because I wanted them to build a new library. That's not what happened. That's the democratic process. It's democracy at work. That's how it works. I get that. But I did not go back there, and they, if they're honest with themselves, they will tell you that after the decision was made, I stopped coming to the meetings because the decision was done. I came and I stopped coming, and I never once told them, I think you should do this, I think you should do that, or try to convince them to move the process along or do anything like that. That's not what happened. That's not how I operate. And yeah, I know what was going on in the library. There's no doubt. I knew exactly what you guys are doing. The separation of the entities as it relates to the taxing bodies, the governing bodies, school boards, library boards, park district boards, village boards, all that stuff, absolutely, positively, 100 agree. The problem in this case is that I got a member of the library board and the president of the library in the same, and the president of the zoning board in the same household. And when you're the zoning board, you should have an unbiased opinion, or you should recuse yourself from the process. But if you're sitting on this thing, and the person that's got the petition in front of you is your spouse, there is absolutely no way that you can have a totally objective position. It just can't. You know, so that being said, I do not, and I resent the statement that was made earlier tonight, that it's negligence on the part of this village board. There is absolutely no way that we can be negligent on something we don't have in front of us. To make the statement that this board is negligent is absolutely absurd and wrong. Because I haven't seen anything, and I challenge any of these board members to tell me that they've seen anything that they could have acted on that they did not act on. So how, and when you come back to the next board meeting, please explain to me how the board here is negligent if there's nothing in front of us for us to act on. That's really disturbing to me. And I could go on and on about this. Well, I'm gonna digress. We're going to act on this as soon as the attorneys, as soon as the findings of fact are signed by the zoning board president, and they're presented to this board. I will present that information to all of the village trustees, to for their review and ultimately their vote on whether they want to approve the zoning variations that are requested by the library that they've gone to the zoning board for. I must make a note that in this email, it says that the zoning was passed. Well, the zoning hasn't been passed. The zoning board has made a recommendation that will be generated and given to us in the findings of facts. The zoning is only passed when this board passes the zoning, the variances. Because right now, it hasn't been passed. If it had been passed, you all wouldn't be here. You all would be out there with a shovel in the ground. So please understand that the zoning has not been passed at this point. It's gone to the zoning board. The zoning board has voted on it. There's a finding of fact that needs to come up and a recommendation that needs to come to this board. And we will act accordingly based on the information presented to us, and we'll do it as expediently as possible. I assure you of that. Well, that's a whole nother thing. The attempt here, you know, in the email to the village board trustees, it attempts to basically coerce them and threaten them into voting a certain way on this particular subject. And it says, stop President Jones and his stall tactics. I need somebody to explain to me how I'm stalling this process. What have I done to stall this process? From continuing to eat into this $4 million bond referendum dollar, we the residents voted, I want every penny of it spent on, of my tax I spent on it. No, that's fine. Should have thought about that when you went through the process of obtaining this money. So there's a lot of things in here. I'm going to pass this email that was authored by Katrina Arnold around to the rest of the board members that have not seen it. And let them read it, because
That's a separate email?
this is amazing. It begs people to come out here, can't make it to the meeting, please write a letter to the trustees and ask that they curtail the stall tactics employed by Village President Jones, again, accusing me of stalling it, require the village attorney to submit the findings of facts to zoning board president for a signature so it can be passed on to the village trustees and put on the agenda for a vote. Okay, well, that's funny. The first line says, I've got the stall tactics, but then in the second line it says, require the village attorney to submit the findings and facts to the zoning board president for his signature so it can be passed on to the trustees and put on the agenda for a vote.
That's correct.
So how am I starting the process?
That's right. That's
I'm just reading, I'm reading email. But this is, and you know, let me go on. You know, if there was an omission in the process at the village in requiring a business contract, it's not fault of the Broadview Public Library District and its consultants. It showed the inadequate processes in place at the village under the supervision of President Johnson. We have inadequate processes, really? If you'd have availed yourself to the process, you'd have found out what it was. If you don't address the process or don't come to the process, you can't call it inadequate. You can't call a process inadequate that you did not go through. If you had came to the village and went through the process, then you would have found out whether it was adequate or not. And there's more in here. I'll talk about that another time. But suffice it to say, it's very disturbing that I got the library board, another taxing body, sitting in my courtroom, complaining and basically pointing their finger at the Cook Chambers courtroom, whatever you want to title it. Right now, it's just a room where where I'm just going to give my response to the comments that were made earlier. But like I said, I'm offended that you all would, certain individuals on the library board would try to point their finger at the village boards when the mistake was done at the library board level. Mr. Clerk, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Stick around? Or you want to go home? Move back again, second by Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Tonight's meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.